Upload this. Okay, welcome everyone. I am so excited that you are here today. I will admit, it's always a bit surreal when you go from a Zoom meeting with a few people to a Zoom meeting with like 50 plus people. And I just saw all of your thumbnails and I was just like, wow, there's a lot of people in this call. So I'm a little like nervous to be honest in the first few minutes, but I'm really, really excited to dive in and get into all of the deliciousness of growing a community online. I'm going to ask that, if possible, people keep themselves muted for the duration of this masterclass. And then there will be a great opportunity for us to do a Q&A at the end of the call. So I'm just actually going to hit mute on a few people. So if you could just keep yourself muted, just so that way it's really easy for people to hear all of the lessons that we're going to go through together, that would be fantastic. Okay, I'm going to enable share screen and go full screen, Dawn. So I like the community, the chat is in your hands. I'm going to be completely blind and just looking at the presentation from this point on.
I got you.
Amazing. Well, let's enter. It's always a bit daunting to go into full screen mode. All right. So, welcome to How to Grow a Community of Readers. We've got a really, really jam-packed lesson and itinerary for today. I'm so excited. And as well, just know that the chat is absolutely available for you if you have any questions while I zip through everything. I really, really tried to get as much information as possible in here. And if anyone sees a question that they're like, oh, hey, I'm interested in that too, just give an emoji or a heart so that way Dawn can prioritize it in our little behind the scenes doc. And then during the Q&A, I'll be able to get to that later. So thank you so much for being here. And first, I want to get to know you, and I want us to also just get to know each other. So the first question that I have is, why are you here? I want you to use the chat and share who you are and what you're hoping to get out of this session. Maybe you are an author writing your first book and hoping to build a community of readers who will be excited when your book release comes out. Or maybe you've been posting on Bookstagram or Book
Morning.
for a while. Oh, there. Maybe you've been posting on Bookstagram or Book Talk for a while and just kind of feel like you're spinning your wheels, spending hours posting and not really getting any momentum. So share that why here. Like, let us know what you're hoping to get out of this session. My goal is that today you're going to feel really, really confident in multiple areas of building a community. First of all, we're going to tackle how to create, which I'm going to go through basically ways that you can create as much content as possible and as little effort as possible. Then we're going to go through connection, which is absolutely vital for building a community of any kind, whether it's readers or not. And then we're going to get into the mechanics of how to convert that community and what converting really, really means and how you can use Flodesk as a tool to help you out. So first of all, very, very important. I would love for you to use a 30-day trial of Flodesk to start getting acquainted with what it means to build a newsletter list. I'm going to get through why a newsletter list is really, really important with building a community. But with Flodesk, they make it so, so easy to be able to effortlessly grow and engage and stay in touch with the community that you're working so hard to reach in the first place. So through this link, you can get a free 30-day trial. And then later, if you sign up for Flodesk, you can get 50% off your first year. I have, through my experience, and I'll kind of dive into my background in a little bit, I have tried out every single email newsletter platform out there. And I was paying a small fortune with a software that rhymes with AilChimp. And I am so, so, so excited to be using Flodesk. Dawn's probably like, oh God, because I don't know if we're allowed to say that name, but hopefully the rhyming is fine. But Flodesk is really, really amazing. I wholeheartedly recommend it. So just definitely recommend signing up for that free 30-day trial because we're going to go through it now. And then you can kind of get acquainted with all the amazingness that Flodesk has to offer. All right. So, about me. So you may know me as that maniac of Book Huddle who posts nonstop about Sarah J. Maas books, but I can assure you that there's far more to me than just posting about fantasy romance books. I've actually been working in online content since 2010. So pretty much work in social media for as long as you can work in social media. I have an English degree. I moved to New York City with goals of becoming a writer. I was doing freelance writing jobs here and there. For anyone who like knows how early I love to go to bed, kind of a funny joke among my friends and family is that I was a nightlife reporter at one point for Time Out New York, which was like basically the opposite of who I am as a person. But I was really trying to make ends meet, and I ended up finding social media and started working, heading up the social media strategy for corporations like MTV and BMI. I later moved agency side and then worked on some other bigger accounts like VCA Animal Hospitals and Subaru. And then after working for big corporations and big agencies, I really saw an opportunity to help small companies and individuals grow online. So then I started consulting on my own for about 10 years. And over those 10 years, I helped over 350 brands from over 30 different countries position, build, and promote themselves online. And so overall, I'd say probably over my experience from 2010, I've helped brands grow organically by over 12 million followers. And then that sort of brought me to where I am with Book Huddle. So the whole time that I was helping individuals and small companies promote themselves online, I was too scared to post myself. I was too scared to share my voice. I didn't know what I would say. I thought that no one would want to hear from me. I thought like there wasn't space for me, which is so ironic because I could see the talent and I could see the potential in everyone that I worked with, but I didn't believe in that potential myself. And finally, I decided to take a leap and start posting on TikTok back in 2022, originally to learn more about the platform to advise my clients, but I actually started finding my own community there of fellow book lovers. Now, about 2 years later, I am a full-time creator as of a few months ago, and Book Huddle has a community of over 325,000 readers from around the world. And I think that sort of my hope today is that you can glean insights from my experience working within and advising globally renowned, really big brands, but also from supporting and consulting personal brands, and then also from being a newbie content creator myself. So I'm just really hoping that all that experience can come together to help you feel super confident and just kind of cut through the BS of all the different social media recommendations out there and just use the experience that I've learned from others and from myself to help guide you forward. Okay, enough about me. So the kind of through line, no matter what industry you're in, whether it's building a community of readers or if you're working in, like the healthcare or anything related to online, is that if you want to build a community, you need to be useful. And I know this is like kind of tough to hear, but if you think about it with social media, you as a brand are competing with friends and family of users. Like social media started off as a way to connect with other college students. And so when you're contributing and competing with that type of content, you need to stand out and you need to be more exciting than like Becky's engagement announcement from high school. So being useful is really the number one easiest way to start building a community and start developing brand loyalty. And today I'm going to get through like all the tactics, like really, really go through them of how I feel like you can be as useful as possible for your audience. So today we're going to go through, first of all, how to create. And I'm just going to jump right into the nitty gritty of creating content. So my kind of guiding principle for content, which I feel is not typical from what you might see with social media advice online, is the more you post, the more you learn, and the more you learn, the more you grow. And I think that this is kind of the antithesis of a lot of the social media advice that you see out there, because a lot of brands will be like, go for quality, just do what's sustainable, post once a week. And quite frankly, posting once a week is only 52 posts a year. And that is not enough to learn about what your audience wants from you. It's not enough for you to feel confident. And it's not enough really for you to build a community. And I recognize that we're all busy. We all have lives. And my goal is really to help you figure out how to create as much content as possible in as little time as possible. So something I'm really, really proud of that's still very, very surreal to even put down here and share with you today is that every single account starts from zero on any social media platform and any mailing list. Everyone starts from zero. And you might see Book Huddle's account and think, oh, well, Lauren has almost 200,000 followers. Like that maybe she started with a lot. No, I started from zero just about a year ago, and Book Huddle has grown by almost 200,000 followers in a year. I'm really, really proud of this. But what I'm more proud of than the total users is the total amount of posts that Book Huddle put out there. So if you look at the total post number, which is like right next to the profile photo, you can see that I posted over 1,000 times in just over a year. And that works out to be 2.67 posts per day. And you might be thinking like, that's not sustainable. That's absolutely insane, but you can do it, and you have to learn how to post efficiently. I promise. And I'm going to teach you how to do that today. So there are kind of some basic rules, like I want you to create as quickly as possible. I want you to always be experimenting, and I want you to do more of what works. And all three of these pieces together are going to create a sustainable content framework for you. And I'm just going to unpack each of these now. So creating as quickly as possible. The truth time is, and I've got 3 harsh truths. So like every time you see this sad face on the screen, like, I'm sorry, I'm about to like not sugarcoat it and just be direct with you. Truth time. Your posts are going to flop. Not every post that you do is going to do well. Like, that is just a fact of life. And quite frankly, there's no point in fiddling around in Canva or whatever post framework, like software that you use for 4 hours, because that is wasted time, because that post might flop. It could flop because the algorithm doesn't like it. It could flop because it's unrelatable, because it's got poor formatting, because it's boring. Sorry, but sometimes that happens, because people just don't like it. And so your job as a content creator is not to have a perfect post every single time that you publish. Your job is to figure out what works. And the way that you do that is by posting a lot and by experimenting. So I want you, like, from this moment on, if you are serious about building a community, I want you to commit to posting 2 times a day. And I know, just bear with me. I know you're probably like wanting to log off of this masterclass right now, but I promise it is much easier than you think, because I want you to create every post in under 5 minutes from start to finish. I want you to, again, take no more than 5 minutes per post, which means that you're spending about 10 minutes a day on content creation. And that's how I was able to do 1,000 posts in a year, because I raced myself to get out the heart of the idea as quickly and as effortlessly as I can. And the reason why it's important to create in 5 minutes or less is because then you're focusing on doing. And when you do, you learn. It forces you to distill your message to the very, very core essence of what it is that you're trying to say without second guessing yourself. It helps you find your voice faster. It helps you get more confident because you're posting more and able to post more. It gets you practice because, again, you're posting, instead of 52 times a year, you're posting over 700 times a year. And it also forces you to figure out what is going to be the lowest effort, what is going to be the easiest thing for me to do that I can accomplish in 5 minutes or less. That makes it sustainable, and it also helps make it more fun, because that way you aren't having to work for hours every single day, every time you want to get out a post. So the way that you can do this is to always be experimenting. It's going to take a little bit of time to figure out what is low effort for you, but that's also kind of part of the fun part of posting on social media. So you, first of all, in case you're worried about this, you are not going to run out of ideas. I know that the idea of posting twice a day might be really scary, and you might think, well, like, how am I going to find out what to say? I don't have 700 ideas. But the great thing is that the internet is full of content ideas, and they're all right at your fingertips. So the 3 places that I go to get content ideas are Instagram's Explore page, TikTok's For You page, and Pinterest. So quickly just going through these. Instagram's Explore page, which is that magnifying glass at the bottom of your content, those are examples of posts that Instagram is showing to people who are non-followers of the account. So generally, when you go to the Explore or the search page, you are seeing posts by people that you don't follow, but Instagram thinks you would like. And so we can learn a lot from this because it's showing us kind of behind the scenes of the type of content that Instagram is showing to other people. And that's what you want as a creator. You want your account to be seen by people who don't follow you. TikTok's For You page is a really, really great place to see trending music and post styles that are taking off. You've probably seen jokes about how on Instagram Reels, everything comes out about 3 to 4 weeks later than TikTok. In my experience, that is true. So even if you don't post on TikTok, I highly recommend creating an account there because, like it or not, a lot of trends and a lot of audio trends in particular really, really start on TikTok, and it'll get you ideas. And lastly, Pinterest. So something that a lot of people don't really know about Pinterest is that Pinterest is a search engine. So when you search for something in Pinterest, whatever comes up top in the results are things that people are saving and sharing and clicking on. So anytime you search in Pinterest, you are basically getting a boiled down version of what is most resonating with people. And that can be really, really helpful for content ideas. Okay, so let's get into a little exercise here. For the content ideas, I'm going to show you sort of what goes through my brain every time I'm creating content and trying to create something in 5 minutes or less. So I go to my Instagram Explore page and I look for a post. And this particular post came up on my Explore page yesterday. And I actually ended up, if you go to my profile, I actually did a riff and posted this actual thing. So you can see here that there's this one post. It had almost 300,000 likes. And I did not realize how much of my adult life would be spent thinking about protein. Simple statement. It's funny. I mean, I'm trying to have more protein and it actually is on my mind. So the algorithm was like spot on like with that. But it's really, really simple. It's a single sentence. And so what I encourage you to do to make content creation easy for yourself is to look at what is working for other people and Mad Libs your own brand's version of that sentence or of that post style. So I'll show you an example. The overall framework of this post that almost 300,000 people liked. I did not realize how much of my adult life would be spent verb about fill in the blank. So what I posted yesterday was I did not spend how much of my adult life would be spent thinking, that's my verb, about fictional shadow daddies. And anyone who reads Sarah J. Maas books knows that shadow daddies are kind of like a very specific thing in the fantasy romance world, a very specific type of character. But if you were an author, and let's say you've got a romance book that's coming out, you could have yours be, I did not realize how much of my adult life would be talking about my super spicy romance book. And see like how it's using the exact same framework, but it's putting your own spin on it. And that will invite questions of super spicy romance book. What's that about? Or if there's a fellow author, they may be like, yeah, I'm writing talking a lot about my super spicy romance book as well. It invites conversation and it's the exact same framework as that viral post on the right. Now, another example is if you're just wanting to connect with readers in general. I did not realize how much of my adult life would be spent wishing I was reading. So I'm taking out the about, I'm like slightly tweaking the sentence, but just wishing I was reading. That is very, very relatable for readers. So you can see that you don't have to reinvent the wheel every single time you post. There's like millions of content creators out there who have figured out what works. Now, I don't want you to like outright steal or copy a creator. In fact, every time you do this kind of Mad Lib style, I recommend crediting the original creator in your caption. But you can be as specific as possible in your post and make it your own style, well, without having to kind of like bang your head against the door, wondering like, or bang your head against the wall, wondering like how to start a post from scratch. So that is my method. That is what I do with pretty much every single post that I do. I'm just going to quickly check the chat here to just see what everyone's saying and see if there are any questions here. Okay, yeah, book husbands, book shadow daddies, and yeah, and Dawn was mentioning about how you don't want to be on camera and you want to nerd out on books. That is totally okay. I would recommend looking for posts like this, where it's not necessarily your face, it's not necessarily talking, and just sort of start like dipping your toe in the water of creating content and finding your voice. Okay, so we're going to move on to kind of the next thing. I told you this was going to go by really, really fast. I really want you to also take time to find out what works for you and your audience. Now, you can definitely go back and test out things and find your voice and figure out what topics take off and what don't. But you have to embrace an experimental mindset and be comfortable with doing things that might flop for you to be able to find your voice. So I want you, this is like sort of a challenge. And granted, like my challenges are because I really, really want you to like find confidence and learn as much as you can about your content. But if something like filming video doesn't feel right for you yet, just think of that as like something you can incorporate later. But if I were to sort of like a personal trainer, give you a workout for your content, I would want you to alternate between 4 post types every time you publish online. So the first is a short video that could be 6 seconds long of B-roll with text on top. You've probably seen in my content, I do this all the time. I do one where I'm texting my friend. I film one, I don't know why these ones do well, but they do, where it's like my eyes up and then I put text almost like a thinking bubble on top of it. Sometimes I'll do a B-roll where I'm just reading a book and it's a 6-second loop with my thoughts on a book over top. This is a really, really great way to get comfortable with video without necessarily talking. And in my experience, if you use music that's trending, or taking off or popular, that will help your account get seen, which is how you build community. The next post type I would love you to experiment with is a carousel, where you do 5 or more slides of photos or graphics. And graphics are, they can just be this, it can be text on screen. But I want you to experiment with carousels as well. The third type is a longer video, and this is the scariest one for most people. This is definitely the scariest for me. But a talking video that's 45 to 90 seconds or has voiceover. And the reason why this is important is because when you're building community, people want to know the face behind that community. And sometimes you do have to speak. So I highly recommend really, really trying this one out. It took me a while to get comfortable with video, I'm not going to lie, but it can be really, really rewarding and really fun. And if you're forcing yourself to film a video in 5 minutes or less, then it really gets to the heart of what it is that you want to say, which helps you be authentic as possible for your community. And the last post type that I want you to alternate with is a photo. That's either one slide, and it could be a photo of you, or it could be a graphic. Now, so when you post online, if you're going to be posting twice a day, highly recommended to just alternate between these 4 types and just commit to doing it. That is your schedule. You can do it and you can do all of your short videos in advance and then pepper them out every 4th post. But this is going to be the best way for you to figure out what your audience wants from you and what your voice is online. Okay, so if you are really, really up to the task, like again, personal trainer Lauren over here, I would love for you to just commit to posting twice a day and rotating between these formats for 1 year. I want you to really, really take your goals of building a community seriously. And this, like, if you go through these things, you're going to, by the end of 1 year, have done 182 versions of each of those post types for a total of 728 posts in a year. Think about how much you will learn about your community, the topics that take off, about what's easiest for you, about what people want from you, if you post that much. And again, it doesn't have to take longer than 5 minutes per post. It works out to be about 5.5 hours total per month. You can do this. And I just quick reminder that not every post that you do will be perfect, and that's okay. As long as you are experimenting, as long as you're mimicking what other people do, and as long as you're being true to your voice and like being true to who you are, you will find what does well. Okay, so now we're going to get into something that's like a topic near and dear to my heart with creating content, which is doing more of what works. So, another truth time. Steal yourself. If you aren't growing online, something is not working. And I know that's a really, really tough pill to swallow. When I was consulting before starting Book Huddle, I would see clients who would show up every day, They would post the same style of thing. They would get 3 likes, and one of them would be like from their mom. Like they'd spend hours posting, like, and putting together their posts every day, and they were not growing. And that is unfortunately an indicator that something isn't working. And that's actually a clue in the data. So I want you to instead sort of take yourself personally out of your content when you post online. And instead, I want you to think of your account as this scientific experiment, like this big psychological scientific experiment where you're throwing spaghetti at the wall, following hunches of what posts are going to do well and what posts aren't going to do well. And then you look and you ask yourself, why did that one do well? And why didn't that one do well? And over time, if you're really, really honest with yourself and honest about the numbers that you are seeing, you will understand what types of posts resonate the most with people and what people want from you as a creator, as a community leader. So with viral posts, it's not as easy as just nailing the topic of a viral post. You need to have all these different ingredients together to like really, really take off online. So you need to master the hook. You need to do it in the right format or medium. Oh, I'm just going to mute you there. It's so funny seeing my name everywhere, I have to say. It's like so funny. Your posts, if you want, so viral posts are just much more than like a topic. It's like a bunch of things coming together to that kind of like work and really, really like connect, like solving a puzzle. So you need to have a hook, you need to have the right format, you need to have it be relatable enough. It's got to be the right audio, the design, the topic, the delivery, the structure. Like there are all these factors that come together to determine what makes a viral post. And the more honest you can be with yourself about the little tiny things with your posts that are and are not working, the sooner you will be able to go viral and start finding the people who are going to be your longtime community members. And the kind of secret sauce of going viral that I think a lot of people kind of forget is themselves, is their unique perspective. So I want you, sort of, again, with my personal trainer assignments for you, I want you, after every time you post, to go back to it 48 hours later and look at the insights of that particular post. And I want you to ruthlessly monitor every single post and look for 3 key metrics: shares, comments, and follows. And here's why each of those metrics are really, really important with figuring out what your community wants from you. Shares means that your content inspired connection. It resonated enough that someone wanted to send your post to a friend, or they wanted to post it to their Instagram stories because they felt so personally attached to it. That is a very, very good sign. And if a post has a lot of shares, that is an indicator that you've touched on something here, something really good, something really positive. Comments means that you've created forum. So you've inspired people enough to stop what they're doing and actually give their 2 cents, which means that your topic or the way that you presented the topic or your opinion was enough to inspire people to actually want to engage and give their thoughts. And lastly is follows. And I feel like, a lot of brands and social media experts out there will recommend looking at likes or as like or saves as the most important metric with a post. But if you're wanting to grow a community, actually follows are the most important metric to look at. When you go into your insights of any social media channel, whether it's Instagram or even TikTok, you can see how many people actually followed you from that particular post. And that is really, really important to look. You want to be prioritizing and doing more of the posts that are leading more followers to your account, because that's an indicator that someone wants more. They loved what you posted enough to subscribe, which is a really valuable thing. So I want you to be objectively critical. And I know it's hard when you're putting yourself out there and when you're doing a talking video and you're sharing your thoughts and your passions about something. I know it's really, really hard, and it can be a bit painful to look at the metrics and really, really honestly ask yourself, is this working? But I usually go through, every time I post, I'll go through a series of questions myself with every single post that I do. And I'm going to share them with you today because these really help me, at least, and I hope they help you. If I could redo this, what would I change? So ask yourself really, really honestly. For me, I'll get into more examples of this, but as mentioned, the talking videos are really tough for me. They always have been really tough. It's definitely out of all the 4 formats, talking videos are the least comfortable for me. And I find that they're uncomfortable for me because I speak slowly, I stammer, it's just not my medium of choice. And generally, what I would change is I would make it faster and I would cut out the pauses and I would speak in complete sentences. So just ask yourself, what would I change? And just another thing is that, metrics, I think numbers can be kind of scary for creators, especially when you're starting out. But the thing is that your metrics ultimately tell you what people want from you. So they're actually a really good thing. It can be like little clues. There's this quote I love, success leaves clues. And I feel like this applies in like all parts of life, but it especially applies in the content that you create.
Justice was upset because when he got this morning, he could barely walk.
Sorry, I'm going to mute Lauren Moore over there. But I think that your metrics give you clues of what people want from you. So just really, really pay attention to them and don't shy away from them. Okay. So as mentioned, my long form videos are the weakest. And I have a feeling that there's a bunch of people on this call who maybe feel the same way, given that a lot of us are trying to build communities of readers and maybe introverts ourselves. So there's a few things that I do to help with my video content that I just want to share with you now in case it helps. The first thing is that I will write a hook like in text on the screen, and I will also say a different hook. So for example, let's say I've got a hook and it says like 3+ romance books you need to read. And then I will say, if you're looking for a new romance book, this is the video for you. Those are actually 2 hooks in action, but one of them is me saying, and one of them is me writing it out. And that way I feel like in my brain, it's got kind of double the chances of potentially hooking someone. If one hook doesn't resonate, then maybe the other one will. I also always use captions and add in emojis so that there's extra visual interest and I don't have to rely on like wild graphics that I don't personally have time to make. So captions are your friend as well. And one sort of trick that I have, given that I sort of stammer on sentences and it's not as natural of a medium for me, is I actually film myself speaking one sentence at a time. So I got my phone out and I will say a sentence and I'll actually stop and then I'll refilm and say the next sentence and stop. And then I just trim out the gaps between sentences. I find that to be much more efficient and ultimately much better as an end result than just filming everything in one go. I would probably have to like stop and start again from the beginning. So I recommend filming one sentence at a time and trimming out the gaps between the sentences so it moves fast. And the last thing for me, and you will find your own style, of course, but I try to really, really add passion to whenever I'm filming videos. Again, as an introvert, I'm a bit sort of restrained at times. I'd say that I'm not as like, yeah, in my video in real life as I am in my videos. But I have noticed by looking at the metrics that the videos where I am more passionate and fired up about whatever I'm reading, the more people engage, the more they want to stick around and they want to feel that enthusiasm too. So anyway, I hope that helps. Now that we've got the kind of the creation mechanics down, let's get to the fun part, which is connection. So picture this, if you're following my prescription, my personal trainer prescription of the content that I just went through. You're posting twice a day with content that is easy for you to create because you're finding out what's easy for you by racing yourself and posting everything in 5 minutes or less. You're growing more confident by practicing because you're getting that volume in. You're adopting an experimental mindset. You're really being honest with yourself about what is and isn't working, and you're willing to try things out to figure out what grows and leads to results. Now it's a fun part. You get to connect with your community. So something that I think is really, really important is that social media is a relationship building tool. A lot of people think of it as a broadcasting tool, and actually the posting is just the first part. You have to build a community, you really need to engage and meaningfully connect with people. So I sort of have these 3 points that I'm going to go through ultimately, like, and sort of tricks with, well, not tricks, but like ways to sort of enhance and cultivate that community. Is first, you want to create for one person, you want to know what your values are, and you want to make someone stay. So let's get through that now. When you create for one person, I just sort of want you to remember that the end goal of building community is to create a place where people feel seen and they know that they're in the right place. So the best way to sort of do that first is to envision who your ideal audience member is and create content for that one person in mind. And don't be afraid to be specific here. So I want you to ask yourself these questions to help really, really visualize who that ideal audience member is. Who are they? Where do they live? How old are they? What do they do for work? What do they do for fun and why? And what keeps them up at night? And lastly, what's missing in their life? So use those questions as ways to really distill that avatar of your ideal audience member down, like know them like really, really well in your brain. So for Book Huddle, it's an introverted woman. She lives in a small home just outside of a major city. She's 38 years old. I kind of cheated with this one because I actually know from the demographic I've collected from reading retreat attendees, but she's 38. She has a serious job. And by serious, I mean like a project manager or inputting data, like something like, not super creative. She reads to ignite her imagination and to have a creative break. And she yearns for an outlet to share with what she's reading. And she's really, really looking for and missing a genuine connection with readers. Part of why I started posting Book Huddle was because my friends in my real life don't read books. And I love reading books. And I really wanted to talk with other people about books. And so that sort of was the driving factor behind me posting. And it turns out there's quite a few other people there too who feel that way. So I want you to think of that person in your mind and then create just for that one person. I feel like there's this quote that I heard that's when you try to appeal to everyone, you effectively appeal to no one. I do think that's true on social media. So the more specific you can be and the more you can create an environment for that one person, the more people are going to develop brand loyalty with you and the more excited they're going to be part of your community. Values are also a really, really important guiding force for me with Book Huddle's content. So people don't like surprises. They want to have brand consistency. They want to know that they're in the right place and they want to know what your personality is. Now, you're going to be experimenting with the different types of content, but you can use your values as ways to sort of steer with like what is and is not on brand for you. And ultimately, that'll help people know that they're in the right place. So I'm just going to go through what Book Huddle's like kind of 3 driving values are, and you will probably be able to sort of see how that comes through in my content. So joy is the very first value that I have. I only share books that I really, really love and I'm really excited about. So for me, that means that I'm not going to be sharing critiques or books that I gave 1 stars for or DNFs. Totally fine if that's your thing and if that's what you want to do. That's not what I want to do. That's not aligned with my values. I want Book Huddle to be a place where you can go and trust and know that every single book there is something that I thought was really fun or really great. Inclusion. So it's really, really important to me, that everyone knows that they are in a safe place and that inclusivity is just really, really important. So one of the ways that I do that is I really, really do try to prioritize sharing books by authors from marginalized communities. That's something really, really important to me. It's reflected in the books we choose for the reading retreats, it's reflected in the books we have for our book club, and it's reflected in the recommendations that I make. And inclusion is that value, and that really determines a lot of the decisions that I make ultimately as a creator. And lastly is integrity. So this has been kind of interesting as growing online, but I want a forum where people feel safe. And I want a forum where people feel like they can share their opinions, but I need people to be respectful when sharing their different opinions. And if someone is going to be disrespectful to me or to another community member, my house, my rules, you get 1 warning. And then if you're not going to behave, you're gone. And that is just one of my values because I want Book Huddle to be, again, a place where people feel safe. And so a part of that really means that I'm creating content that makes people feel good and safe and feel like they can share their opinions. And that's something that's like, again, super important to me. So these values are ultimately, in my opinion, really important, again, for your community to know that they're in the right place. So I really want you to think about what those 3 values are that are going to drive a lot of the decisions that you make creatively, and also speak to that ideal community member. Lastly, make someone's day. And this is fun. This is now we're going to be getting to all the Flodesk stuff, which is so critical. So I want you to sort of imagine how it feels when you go into your favorite coffee shop or your favorite restaurant, and people who work there, if you're a regular, are really genuinely excited that you're there. And they remember your order and they like smile at you. They ask you how your day was. They talk to you about your dog's name. They know all those little details, and it makes you feel really special, and it makes you feel like you've come home. I want you to create a very similar experience to that on your social media accounts. So that means replying to the direct messages that you get. That means asking people questions or asking them to expand on why they liked a certain book or why they feel that way. Giving unique replies in the comments to everyone. I promise it doesn't take that long, and it makes a whole difference when it makes someone feel really special. Getting to know people on an individual level, and also asking people what they want from you. Create a 2-way connection with your community, because again, people are really going to know and feel like you really care about them. And you do. You want to give a really positive experience when people interact with your community. So something that, like, if you look at the best brands online, in my opinion, the most powerful communities prioritize joy and or education. And joy can be in the form of entertainment. It can be in the form of sharing something beautiful. It doesn't necessarily have to be about like happiness, but it's something that like elicits a spark in another person. Or education. And both of those things are very useful to people online. So I want you to sort of think about with your content, how you can prioritize delivering and creating experiences that are either educational or elicit joy. And a big part of how you can do that actually is by creating freebies or lead magnets that either teach people or save them time. And I'll share sort of an example of how I've done that with Book Huddle, just to give some context behind what a freebie or a lead magnet is. But basically, a freebie or a lead magnet is when you create something that is of value to another person. And it's so intriguing and so useful and so exciting that they then give you their email address and sign up your mailing list in exchange for getting that freebie or getting that thing. And I highly recommend focusing on building your mailing list now. I'm going to go through a few reasons of why, but the best way in my experience that you can do that is by building creating a freebie or a lead magnet and starting to get those email addresses now. People really like them. So with Book Huddle's email list, the main reasons that people have signed up for my email list is, number one, they want my list of 120 plus books to read when you're done the Sarah J. Maas universe. That's my freebie. That's my lead magnet. Or they want to be notified about the next reading retreat. And both of these things that have driven the majority of my email subscribers, they were inspired by me paying attention to what my audience was interested in. So I'll sort of walk through the story of how I created my list of books to read when you're done the Sarah J. Maas universe. I finished Crescent City 2 at the time because book 3 wasn't out. And I posted to TikTok and I was like, look, I just finished House of Sky and Breath. I'm so devastated. My soul is shattered. I don't know how I'm going to go on with my day. What book should I read? Where do I go from? Where could I possibly go from here after reading such a masterpiece? And thousands of people commented. And more interestingly is more people saved the post than commented. And what that told me was, wow, people are saving this so that they can look at the comment, because I'm not giving anything of value in my post. People are saving that because they want to go through the comments and like look at all the book recommendations. So then I started creating my own list, and all it is like a Google sheet that's view only, and people can sign up and put in their email, and then the Google sheet is sent to them, and then they've got this list that they can copy themselves that has over 120 different books that you might like if you're done the Sarah J. Maas universe. And so I'm not I'm not a genius. Like that's like not very like revolutionary. That's not the most like creative idea. It really didn't take me long to come up with this. But I paid attention to what people were interested in, and I thought, what could save people time? probably a list of books so that they don't have to look through all the comments in this post. So I want you to really, really pay attention when you're going through your insights and when you're looking at, your posts and you're looking at what other people are doing online. Pay attention to what people are interested in and think ahead and think about how can I do something that's going to make someone really, really excited.
Bye.
Oh, hello. I'm just gonna mute you there. How can I create something that's going to like get people really excited or save them time or teach them something? So if you are trying to figure out your freebie, ask yourself these 3 questions. And I really, really want you to be honest with yourself about these questions. What do people get most excited about? And this could be on someone else's posts, like a brand hero's posts, or on your own content. But where do you see people like really, really light up? What could you create that solves a problem? And what would be easy for you to make? So as an example, if you are, let's say you're an author and you got a historical romance book coming out. It's really, really important that you create a freebie that attracts your ideal community member. So something that I've seen a lot of aspiring or current authors do is they'll be having a book that's in the works and they're promoting it and they're getting all excited about their book. And they create something that's like my, 10 ways that I wrote my book really, really quickly. Well, the thing is that while that might be easy for someone to make, and while that might solve a problem, that's not actually really helpful for the ideal audience that you really want to buy your book. The people buying your book aren't necessarily authors. They might not really care about how to write a book really quickly. They instead would probably be more excited about a book of like 50 must-read historical romance books. And then that would be you'd be attracting the people who are excited about historical romance. And then you would then later be able to like serve your own historical romance. And you'd know that they're interested because they got that list first. So I really want you to be honest about what your ideal community member wants. And I want you to really pay attention to like what lights them up, what gets them excited. Okay, so now we're going to go into the how to convert part. So we're about to get into a hard truth time. But social media, like spending all this work and growing social media, it's really, really important. It's necessary, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have access to the community that you've worked so hard to build. Your social media presence can be best thought of as like buying a house on rented land. So at any point, Mark Zuckerberg could change the algorithm and your post might not be seen by all of your followers. And that can be really, really disheartening. And I've actually got a story that I'll share in just a second of when that happened to me. So that's why you need to build an email list because people don't change their emails very often. And it's a way where when you need to get in touch with your audience, when you have an email list and you've got a community that's signed up and is excited to hear from you, that is a really, really easy and effortless way to get in touch with lots and lots of people at once without the algorithm working against you. So here's my cautionary tale. So about 6 months into posting on TikTok, I shared an idea for a reading retreat. And it went viral. And I'd never done any kind of event planning before, but 2,400 people signed up for my email list to learn more about it. And then another 5,000 people had signed up for my list of books to read when you're done the Sarah J. Maas universe. And so I thought, okay, you know what? I've got about 8,000 people on my email list now. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to try to create this reading retreat. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm just going to go for it and see what happens. And so I found a venue. I signed a really, really scary contract. I put down a really big deposit, which if you know, I'm in Canada. So like the US to Canadian dollar conversion makes like really heightened the stakes here for me. And I did everything and it was finally time to promote. The tickets were on sale. And I did a TikTok video and only 400 people saw it. And to put that in perspective, my typical TikTok videos before would get about 30,000 views. But for some reason, this one video where I was talking about the most important thing ever in my TikTok history, it was seen by like 10% of the normal people. And just because 400 people, you might be thinking, well, that's a lot of people, and it is. But I had 40 tickets I needed to sell. And there was no way that 10% of every person who bought the ticket or 10% of every person who saw the video was going to buy a ticket. But thankfully, I had an email list. So that post flopping didn't impact me at all because I had 8,000 emails that I could contact about the retreat on the day that the algorithm decided to punish me for whatever reason. So it was fine. And it did sell out really quickly, thankfully. So you might not know what you want to sell now. You might not know, but I think it's really, really important to start going through the steps of building your email list now so that in the future, when you are ready to sell something, you've already got that community there and you're not fighting the algorithm or frantically trying to grow online. So you might want to, write a book and launch it. You might want to start a virtual book club. You might want to sell merch. You might want to organize an event. You might want to promote a charity that's really important to you, or even collaborate with brands. You don't know what opportunities you might want to do years from now, but the time to start is now. So an email list gives you the flexibility to pursue a future idea, and that's why it really, really needs to be prioritized. I would highly, highly recommend focusing on just one social media channel and your email list instead of spreading yourself thin in multiple channels. Your email list is I cannot underscore how important your email list is for the future. Trust me on this. And so I'm just going to quickly just put this link here. And Dawn, if you could put this in the chat, just in case anyone's like all revved up about my cautionary tale, but just give Flodesk a spin and try it for 30 days. And you can see how easy it is and how effortless it is to get going with your email list. And just creating that account is that first step. So another truth time. This is the last one, I think. You need way more subscribers than you think. Way more subscribers. And this is like online, and this is also with your email list. And, working with clients, especially before doing Book Huddle, clients will spend a lot of time like writing a book or putting a lot of course into creating or putting a lot of effort into creating this course. And when it would come time to sell, they weren't aware of standard open and click and conversion rates, and their list wasn't big enough to reach whatever goals they had in mind. So with standard email, every time you send an email, about 30% of people are going to open it, give or take. But these are just like kind of standard. This is what you can expect at least. But you're all superstars, so I'm sure you'll surpass these metrics, but I just want to let you know what the baseline is. So the standard open rate is 30%. Standard click-through rate is 5%, and a standard conversion rate is about 10%. So let's unpack what that means with a specific example. If you have 10,000 email subscribers, and that's a lot of people, you can expect about 3,000 opens whenever you send an email. You can expect about 150 clicks from the people who open the email, and then you can expect about 15 purchases. So if you think about this, if you're trying to build or write a book or launch that book club or do the charity or promote a podcast, you want to have way more email subscribers than you think. And you can always be pleasantly surprised after you look at these statistics, but you want to start building that community now so that you have the flexibility to be able to really promote or sell whatever it is in the future. And I'm not saying this to be disheartening by any means. Like I want you to take these numbers and use them as like fuel and inspiration to really start building that community and take pressure off of your future self. So start building that list now. And the way that you can do that is actually, Flodesk makes it so easy. So you sign up for a free trial and create that freebie. And I'll be uploading a recording of this so you can go through and ask yourself questions about creating that freebie, but it doesn't have to take long. Use Flodesk's forms and workflow features to set up a place where people can sign up for their email in exchange for the freebie, and then promote that freebie 3 to 5 times a week. And you can promote it by doing it in your Instagram or your TikTok stories. You can do that by putting it in the captions. You can do it by putting in your profile, like telling people to click the link in your bio to sign up for it. You can promote it in a bunch of different places, but just go through the motions of regularly promoting your freebie 3 to 5 times a week, and you will start slowly but steadily building that mailing list. Once you get to 100 subscribers, I highly recommend creating a simple newsletter using Flodesk's templates. Flodesk's templates are so beautiful and so easy to use, and they have so many different options, and you don't have to overcomplicate it. It's much better to start smaller and do something simple and send it monthly, and then you can use all of Flodesk's beautiful features to make it more expansive as time goes on and as you get more comfortable. And then over time, as your mailing list goes up, I recommend increasing to once a week with sending out your mailing list. But you don't have to do that right away. Like once a month is totally fine at the beginning. And again, people will be signing up because they're really excited about your freebie. And then you can really, warm them up and get to know your community that way. So we've gone through a lot today, and I know actually it's perfect timing, might I say. We've gone through how to create content, like lots of it, and as in a way that's as easy as possible for you. We've gone through how to connect and to build a community that knows that they're in the right place. We've gone through how to convert and to build a mailing list so that if you do want to sell something in the future, your future self is going to be protected and will really, really stress-free. And I'm just going to, before we get to the Q&A, I'm just going to quickly zip through and summarize those rules for community that I went through. So I want you to remember this as you're, motivated and fired up and taking action from beyond this masterclass. You want to be useful. You want to create as quickly as possible, experiment, do more of what works, critique every post, and make someone's day. And for your next steps, I went through kind of one-time, daily, weekly, and monthly tasks. You can take a screenshot of this, or you can look at the replay, or take a photo on your phone. But these are the tasks that I highly, highly, highly encourage you to incorporate into your workflow and your calendar so that you can take action. And I did the math, and it works out to be about 7 hours of work per month, which is pretty outstanding if you're going to be posting almost 800 times a year and also building a mailing list. It really doesn't have to be, I know it might look like a full-time job, but I promise you that if you just laser focus on these things, your community will grow and you will achieve whatever those goals are. Last thing is I want to encourage you to remember to put yourself first. And I know as a newbie creator myself, I know how scary it is to put your voice out there. I know how easy it is to say, oh, you know what, I've got other things to do, or I need to help this person, or I need to do this today. I'm going to post tomorrow. But as I mentioned earlier, every creator starts from zero. Every community starts from zero. And it's the small steps that you do every single day that are going to amount to something really, really significant. If I hadn't taken that risk and filmed that first super awkward TikTok video, my life would look very, very different today. Building a community has genuinely altered my life in ways that I could have never, ever anticipated. And I am so glad that I took that chance on myself. And I really, really hope that from this masterclass, and just if there's one thing that you take away from today, I want you to know that there is space for you online, that your voice matters, and you can build a community of your dreams. You really, really can. And so I really hope that you take action and you make that happen for yourself, because you deserve it. So follow Flodesk on social media, because they've got really, really incredible insights and recommendations. Like every time I see a Flodesk post, I'm like, God damn, that's smart. Or gonna get all inspired and fired up about it. So highly recommend following them. And just here again is that link for the 30-day trial. And you also get 50% off of your first year when that trial expires. And as mentioned, I spent a fortune on my previous mailing service, and I am so glad that I got out of there and got into Flodesk, which is just objectively way better, and for me, a tenth of the cost that I was paying elsewhere. So highly recommend using Flodesk, full A+ endorsement from me. Okay, so that's enough from me, my little presentation. So I'm going to stop sharing and let's get to the Q&A time. Oh my gosh, there have been so many messages in the chat here. So I'm going to look at, Dawn, did you fill in the document by any chance?
I did.
Okay.
And while you look at that, can I pop in and share something real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So a couple of things, guys. Again, if we haven't met yet, I'm Dawn and I'm here. I'm the product marketing manager at Flodesk. So if you have any questions about the platform, I'm here to answer them. But I just wanted to take a minute and say, even if you're not quite sure about email marketing where you are right now, Flodesk forms are always free. So you can use that link to start your trial, and you can use these forms free forever. So you can start collecting your subscribers and collecting them over time. You might not be ready to start emailing them right away, but when you are, those subscribers are in your email marketing platform and ready to go. So don't let that whole fear of starting to send emails be the reason why you don't get started. Start collecting those subscribers so that community is there when you're ready to reach them. Also, we are flat rate pricing, like she mentioned. So a couple of questions in the comments were like, oh, I don't want to be punished for having more people on my list or if my list grows. We are the same rate, regardless if you have 500 subscribers or 500,000 subscribers. And that's really powerful. So again, if you have any questions, drop them in the chat. I'm doing my best to answer them there. But Lauren, I'll pass it back to you.
Okay, perfect. So let's see, we've got a question. Oh, can we create a shared list of accounts after this meeting? Absolutely. So I will create a Google Sheet, and anyone who feels comfortable popping in their social media links and their name or even their email address, feel free to go for that. So I'll include that in the replay email that I send out. So someone said, I like my creativity, but I do not want to post my face on a public account. And another person said, I don't want to be on camera. I just want to nerd out on books. That is okay. That's totally okay. I would encourage you though to experiment. And obviously you want to do what feels true to you. But you might find that other people like seeing your face or like hearing from you. So I would just encourage you to first experiment and try, at least try. You can always decide confidently, no, I'm not going to go on camera. But there are other ways that you can use camera and video without necessarily having your face. So one of the things like you could do, imagine like if you're promoting a book, for example, or a product, you can hold up a book and do a voiceover, or you could do, there's sometimes like fun graphics where people will just like show a book and then show a new book and then show a new book. So you can still use video and just focus on other things like accessories or books or your face. So I would encourage you to still do video, even if you don't want your face on there. Okay. What made me post on Instagram and TikTok specifically versus Facebook or Facebook group? This is a great question. So I'm always open to being challenged and I'm always open to being proven wrong. However, I will say that in my experience, Facebook in particular is a real pay to play atmosphere. And what that means is that it is much harder to be seen by new people and build a community if you are posting without paying to boost or advertise your page. I really, really try to figure out how to grow channels without spending ad spend or paying to boost the post. Like I want to figure out how I can not give money for my posts to be seen. And so I found that generally TikTok and Instagram's algorithms are a lot more conducive for that than Facebook. And you'll probably notice the next time you look in your Facebook account, when a brand or a page is being recommended to you, it's probably an advertisement. It's not like someone's organically finding it. So that's why I chose Instagram and TikTok. Am I spending 5 minutes or less for Reels too? Yes. I really, really race myself. Granted, there are some situations where it might take a little bit longer, and that's okay. But I really race myself and try to post in 5 minutes or less with everything. And again, like how I do that with the talking video is I film one sentence at a time. And I just really force myself to get to the heart of what it is that I want to say. Something that helps me psychologically, I don't know if this is useful or not, but when I film from my phone, I tell myself that I'm FaceTiming with a friend. And I find that just FaceTiming with a friend helps me loosen up. And sometimes I'll force myself to I'll think, okay, like you're FaceTiming with your best friend, Jake. So I'll find myself, I'll put my presentation voice on and then I'll be like, no, you're talking to Jake. You're talking to Jake. And it just forces me to be a real human being when I film. And that helps me a lot. Does posting include stories? So no, it does not include stories. It's 2 posts a day to your feed. However, your stories don't have to be overly complicated. Just simply sharing your post to your stories, like right away after posting, is enough in my experience. I found that it's much more important to post to your feed than it is to your stories when starting out if you want to build a community. Instagram doesn't really share stories from people that you don't follow, it's a lot harder to be discovered. So if you're wanting to build a community, it just makes sense to put your energy into feed posts. I'd like to hear your insight on growing on Instagram. I started a new profile. My reels are stuck at 0 views for a day and then slowly gaining traction, 30 to 400 views. Is this normal? Yes, that is normal. And remember, everyone starts from 0. So what I would encourage you to do is go to your Explore page and look for the reels that come up as recommended. So in that example that I gave, it was for a standalone graphic, but you can do the exact same exercise with recreating or mimicking what someone else is doing in their reels. Heck, go to my profile and recreate some of the reels that I've done, because I put a lot of research into finding, filtering these. So recreate them and just credit me, and then I can like engage with you. But I would recommend you remember that slide where I said all the different elements of a viral post? You want to recreate what someone's doing for their reel as closely as possible. So you want it to be the same audio, same length of time, same layout of text, same framing for filming, like really, really, really recreate it, credit them, and put your own spin with whatever it is that you're delivering. And I can assure you, you will start to break out of those 400 views. I would love to hear how you feel about posting on multiple platforms versus focusing on one. I really, really believe that it's best to focus on mastering one platform and your email than spreading yourself too thin on multiple. And for my first year, I posted only on TikTok, and I am so, so, so glad that I did, because posting on TikTok then gave me the confidence to go, okay, I've got TikTok figured out. I'm ready for the next frontier, which is Instagram. I'm not saying that you have to start on TikTok, but I just think it's important to focus. And so you can really, really ask yourself those kind of tough, critical questions and focus more on improving based on what you're putting out on that one platform than spreading yourself out too thin. When you say be educational, I do have a question as an author. What platform do you make the posts and graphics on? Instagram. So I personally use Canva. That's what I use for my graphics, and I keep it as simple as possible. I've got my 5 brand colors queued up in Canva, and then I'll write a sentence. I try to genuinely spend like 2 minutes in Canva, and I don't fuss on like making things pretty or beautiful. I go for simplicity. That works for me. So I would say Canva's a really, really great tool, so I would recommend that. Do I pre-write my captions or schedule content somewhere? I do not schedule content, and I really want to get into the habit of scheduling content. If you can believe it, the posts that you see are just ones that I come up with like that minute. Every post that goes out, I just film it, post it, forget it, like move on, because I'm inspired in the moment. But I don't necessarily like condone that or recommend that. So Facebook has a really great scheduler that's free. It's called, I believe, like Meta Studio, and it doesn't cost anything, and you can schedule out your posts from there. I would just do that. I think at this stage, a lot of people get distracted by the bells and whistles of like fancy scheduling programs and super like complex editing programs for video. Like, just keep it simple and focus on doing. You can reward yourself when you hit your goals with a super fancy scheduling program later. But the most important thing is to like not distract yourself and stay laser focused on actually creating. If we're technologically challenged, I'm only 32 and I feel 100. It's so funny. The day I turned 30, I also was like, I feel old. I feel like a grandma. Like, things don't make sense for me when I open my phone. I find YouTube tutorials to be really, really fantastic whenever I have a question about anything. Like basically like getting started on TikTok, how to edit a TikTok, like just basic overview beginner. Like, you can even write for beginners. And YouTube's usually my go-to. And again, like, start simple. I think part of why I feel like the 5-minute content race rule really, really works is because it forces you to make decisions that are ultimately going to like lead to a final result. So I'm not going to film like a 50 angle video. Like, that would take a really long time. Like, I'm not Steven Spielberg. I'm not interested in like storyboarding my videos. I just want to film something simple and get the heck out of there. So I would encourage you to keep things simple and just give yourself grace and allow yourself to screw up and to make videos that flop. But because you're only spending 5 minutes on it, the consequences of like doing a bad video aren't as high. All right. Do I have Canva Pro? I personally have Canva Pro because I'm really, really uptight about my branding and I want to use my brand fonts, but that doesn't necessarily mean that like everyone has to. Canva, the ordinary Canva is like absolutely sufficient. I have issues related to branding. As a romance author, would it be educational to share information about relationships I have since I am a professional relationship coach? Could this be part of my brand? That's interesting. I would say, like all things, and this hopefully this answer doesn't annoy anyone, but I think experiment. And your audience you will know over time if your audience wants to hear about your relationships or if they want relationship advice. Oh, was that you? Okay, perfect.
Okay, I have laryngitis. I'm so sorry.
Oh, hope you feel better. Thank you for being here.
So I am a professional relationship coach. So what I was meaning by the question was, since I write romanticy, is like, and through the dynamic between my main characters, I actually follow like the dynamic of healthy relationship, like the power struggle and stuff like that. Would it be beneficial to provide that information in some of my posts, like what I give to clients?
I think experiment. My hunch is that you're going to have to lean a bit more into what readers want than what if your ultimate goal is to sell your book, you're going to have to lean a bit more into readers wants and needs. So an example is like I maybe do a post of like the psychology of why we love shadow daddy, since that's like my word of the presentation. Or like the ingredients, the 5 necessary ingredients of a good shadow daddy, or what like what makes this character like irresistible, what your book boyfriend rankings are, like like I think be a little bit more literal. I know for me personally, as a reader myself, I would pay attention if it has to do with something books, and I might tune out or swipe a little bit if it feels like a lesson about relationships, given that I'm in a relationship that with a partner that I love. So it wouldn't be really relevant to me, but like I still love reading about romance. Does that make sense? Okay. Sorry. Sorry, Mary Kate. I know. It's like I need to come up with another go-to. Okay, I feel like that's probably around that looks like that's it for the questions. And wow, we're right on time. Thank you all so much. I know I moved really, really fast, and I hope that it wasn't too fast. And thankfully there's going to be a replay as well. So if you can go back and look at any notes if you have any. But thank you so much for being here. Dawn, is there anything that you wanted to add or say?
No, thank you guys so much for having me. And I had a great time in the chat with everybody. If anybody has questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us directly. My email is dawn@flodesk.com. So feel free to reach out and I'll connect you with the right channel.
Amazing. And thank you all so much. I appreciate it. And I really, really, really hope that you post twice a day. I really hope you do it. Like, just go for it, pursue your dreams, like, just really, really make it happen. And I'll send out the replay later today with a list for everyone to get connected. Awesome. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a wonderful day.